numerous locations via the miracle of Skype, it's the 40th anniversary season of the LTN Hour. Let's talk NASCAR with your host, Todd Bailing, co-hosts Brian Schmidt, PJ Noodleman, and producer Dangerous Dan Margetta. Call the show anytime at 414-421-7901. And now, the creator and host of the fastest hour in radio, Todd Bailing.
And we're glad you tuned in. We've got lots going on in the world of NASCAR, and you've picked a real good Sunday to make us a part of it. We're getting ready to race at the Roval. This is defined as taking a perfectly good, state-of-the-art oval track and trying to turn it into a road course. I guess that's, some people like it, some people don't. Mark me on the don't side, but of course I'm kind of a downer on that sort of thing anyway. Hi there, Todd Bailing in beautiful Linden Station, Wisconsin, joined by my three partners, beginning with Brian Schmidt in Oostburg, USA.
You can count me as one of those as well. I'm not a fan of the Roval. We have perfectly good, beautiful road courses all across this country that we don't use. We don't need to butcher an oval and turn it into a Roval just because at the time the racing wasn't good on the mile and a half. So now we know that it would be great. So whatever. But hey, is a playoff driver going to win a race in this round today? I guess that's the question. We haven't had one yet.
And that is, NASCAR's got to love that. From Trempealeau, Wisconsin, over on the West Coast, PJ Noodleman. Hi, PJ.
Hey, happy to be here. And, I'm with Brian. I don't understand why they have to reinvent the wheel all the time with NASCAR, but it is what it is.
Yeah, that's the least of their problems this week, which we'll get into a little more. And, of course, Dangerous Dan Margetta in St. Francis, Wisconsin. Hey, bud.
Hey, good morning. I'm with you guys, too. I'm not sure we feel need why we have to make this road course out of an oval. But think of this is like the first gimmick-type track that they kind of came up with and did it. And it's the one that's kind of lasted the longest. And most of them kind of run their course and they move on to something else. But we've had this for a couple years now. This is like the first time they started just doing gimmick things on racetracks. You know, from here we went to the Coliseum, we went to the street courses. This is kind of where it all started, wasn't it?
The difference, though, here is that with the Roval, it's their track. So they don't have to spend a lot of money to do it.
They redid a couple of the corners without me paying close attention to exactly what they did. I understand that there have been a couple of modifications to make it a little different for this race. So
more tighter corners is what they made, more hairpins, so you're going to have more carnage, which is probably what they want.
I guess. Is that what brings more eyes to it? Oh, look, a crash. Well, it's the king of the road course. I'm telling you, this guy has only been here for a short time, but old Shane Van Gisbergen is the man. He was on the pole for both races, both yesterday's Xfinity race and today's Cup race. It's a little bit like watching Earnhardt Sr. at Daytona. You knew where he was at all time, no matter what the guy you were, whoever you were rooting for, you know where he was, and you always want to keep an eye out for Earnhardt at Daytona. Well, it's a little bit like this SVG dude on a road course because he certainly is running up front, or if he's not there, he's coming. And that's pretty much what happened yesterday. He almost won it. He said over there. And it was pretty interesting. By the way, in the Xfinity series that ran yesterday, our own Wisconsin's own Sam Mayer put a fender into Kligerman at the end of that race and really did himself a favor and moved on. Although, Brian, it seems like you can't do anything nowadays without having some sort of controversy.
Well, I didn't see it on TV. I was listening to it on the radio, and they said a caution came, just at the very end. And they said the caution comes out, and they said, Parker Kligerman has taken the white flag. This race is over. Parker Kligerman wins, blah, 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 all this stuff. And then I'm about to get out of the car, and then they're like, oh, wait, maybe not. And I'm like, what the heck is this? So after we're done doing what I was supposed to be doing, I look at my phone, and sure enough, by what? A couple feet, a foot or so, they claimed the light came on, and Parker hadn't made it past the line. And, they basically ripped rip the wind right out of there, because you know when you're going to do a restart on a road course, it's not going to go.
Yeah, they did rip a win away from him. They did what they should have done before it was only 2 feet from the line. There was a car that had crashed that absolutely was not going to move. They should have thrown that caution immediately.
No, they didn't. That's the point, though. So you let them race. So if they race that long, what's the difference? This inability for them to make any kind of decision up there is just, it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, you're either going to do it or you're not. What do you got to have a meeting before you decide if you're going to throw a caution? I mean, this has happened a couple times before, and all it does is make it look terrible to anybody who's watching it. And I can't imagine someone that's, a more of a newer fan and stuff going, what is going on here? They don't know who won the race at the time. It's just terrible, and I feel terrible for Parker. I mean, you knew something was going to happen, and you knew he wasn't probably going to win that race.
NASCAR does have an issue making decisions on the fly. With a clock running, they just make the wrong calls. And if you don't believe me, you weren't watching last week at Talladega. One of the biggest Charlie Foxtrots I have ever seen in my life. We run 4 wide, 3 wide, just a spectacular show of following each other around the racetrack until there's 5 laps to go. And then one of the things that apparently brings all those eyeballs to Talladega. People love crashes. And they had to wait all the way till 5 to go before the big one. It wasn't just the big one. It was the biggest one. That isn't even the problem. Just the fact that 28 cars were involved in a caution with 5 laps to go. That isn't even what the issue was. That was an issue, but that isn't what they're talking about all week long. No, it's NASCAR's inability to make decisions on the fly. They just don't have good leadership up there. I'm sorry, there's no other way to put it. They reinterpreted their own rule about damaged vehicles during the race. While it's happening, they reinterpret it and they changed it from the week before. It just didn't make any sense. So now we've got all these cars in the infield, which, help me guys. First of all, they thought, well, we got to clean this up. It's going to be a big deal to clean it up. We got to throw a red. So the pace car stops the few cars that were actually still running, including, by the way, Denny Hamlin, who was going to be out of the damn playoffs. But because he was so far back, he avoided the big accident. That's another story that just refuses to give up. It's just amazing. But while these cars are sitting on the track under red, and NASCAR decides we got to clean this track up. Brian, they start dragging them off the track, and apparently the inconsistency from the week before reared its ugly head.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with these race cars. Most of the cars that were involved in that simply had flat tires. They weren't destroyed. They weren't wadded up like you normally see. It was just a lot of spinning, which blows out your tires. Because these cars are so low to the ground and the sidewall is so short, low profile sidewall, you can't drive them with flat tires. That's a big problem. And we saw it the week before when they dragged Josh Berry into the infield when all he needed was flat tires, and then they made him be done for the day, and all he had was flat tires. So because they had so many cars with flat tires, and because many of them were playoff cars, they had to figure out how to get them back to the pit area so they could get their tires changed. Well, you only have a handful of wreckers there, and when you have 28 cars sitting there, how are you going to pick out who goes where? So they basically changed their rules so that they would tow you back to your pit stall so you could change your tires. Well, if you're under red, you can't touch the car. So then they have to figure out. Yeah, they got to figure out these cars are all going to just sit there or what. It's just a mess. And until they change this car so that, like any other form of motorsports, when you have a flat tire, you can drive the thing back. We're going to have this problem, and it's a simple fix. We all know it.
Pretty soon you have to purchase tow truck tickets for the drive before the race. Make sure your ticket says pit road, not campground, before you the drive.
We're going to talk more about that when we come back.
This Saturday at Dell's Raceway Park, the Alive for 5 Super Late models are back in action with the Halloween 150. See the best Super Late model drivers in the Midwest competing in a 150-lap shootout, plus the 602 Outlaw Late models and the Midwest Dash Series. Fan gates open at 11, qualifying at 12:30, green flag racing at 2. Get your advance tickets online now and save at DellsRacewayPark.com. Dell's Raceway Park, located 2 miles west of I-90-94 and exit 85 just off Highway 12. Dell's Raceway Park, Wisconsin's best racing entertainment.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
If you're a fan of our Wisconsin sports teams, here's the perfect podcast for you. The Larrivee and LePage podcast with 2 Hall of Fame broadcasters. Wayne Larrivee, the voice of the Green Bay Packers, and Matt LePage, the voice of Wisconsin Badgers football and men's basketball. Together bringing you insights and guests talking Packers, Badgers, Brewers, Bucks, and more. Listen to the Larrivee and LePage podcast. Available anytime on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Presented by UW Credit Union. Here for every you.
So I'm going to need help from not just my own gang here, but from the listeners, because I want to make sure that what I'm saying here is what actually happened. And I'm not, I guess, did I miss it or did I not pay close attention? I'm not sure. But when NASCAR started pulling cars off the track last week and bringing them into the pits. Now, of course, there was some controversy with the fact that they thought, oh, the only reason they're letting these guys work on these cars, it's because it's the 9 car and he's the most popular driver. Well, it wasn't exactly that way, the way I saw it. It was playoff cars is what they were worried about and trying to get as many playoff cars back into the mix as they could. But because of the policy that you cannot touch cars when it's a red flag and they needed to get them fixed, and yet there was only 5 or 6 or 8 cars left on the track, that they changed it from a red to a yellow, but the pace car didn't move. And so it's under yellow, and yet they didn't have the track cleared yet, and nobody was moving. Now, did I get that wrong? I must have, because that really, when you think about it, it's kind of blasphemous that they would do something like that, wouldn't it? Anyone? I guess not.
Oh, I can get.
Go ahead, Dan.
Go ahead, Brian. I mean, you kind of explained it in the pre-show that they had to change it to the yellow because you can't let people work on the cars, and they still had cars to tow back in as well. But that kind of messed those guys up in the backstretch, right, by having it under yellow?
Yeah, and I'm trying to read through Elton Sawyer's description of what happened there, and it's really not making a whole lot of sense. He said there's 25 plus cars down there. We're not sure how many can move and how not. We don't know if it's strictly because they're in the grass or if they're high-sided or if they have 4 tires. So for us to make a determination they've got some sort of suspension damage or not, we don't know if that's why they're down there. So basically what they did is just try to tow them back, and if it was just tires to change, they're going to let them change their tires, which to me still doesn't make a lot of sense because if you're under a red flag, you cannot touch the car. So
but if you make it yellow, shouldn't a pace car be moving cars around the track?
Right. That's the thing too, and it sounds like it's just a massive communication, a communication flaw by NASCAR yet again, because some people thought the yellow was on, some people aren't, some people don't know. They couldn't get the vehicles towed as fast as possible. That was the problem. So they couldn't get them. They couldn't get them out of there because you didn't have enough tow trucks because you had too many cars back there, and that created it to take much longer than they thought. And then when you got the cars back to pit road, those guys only had flat tires, so all they got to do is change their tires. Why they didn't make them sit there and leave it under red, that I don't know.
Yeah, this is their instantaneous reinterpretation of their own rules and not really thinking things out because it's hard to think in a hurry. You know,
yeah, I finally found one of Elton Sawyer's quotes here. He said, "We had safety equipment that was still moving around out there, so just for the safety of all, held the caution vehicle for a little longer after the flag went out. We had some cars on pit road that got the opportunity to do a little bit more work before those other cars could get there."
Oh, and what a cluster.
We had all intentions to roll the caution vehicle as soon as we pulled the red and displayed the yellow. The race director noticed some things that were still going on in turn 3 where we couldn't do that. That's their explanation.
So NASCAR continually shoots themselves in the foot, and really they parade Elton Sawyer out there, who just, okay, we screwed this thing up so bad. Elton, go out there and tell them something. And so poor Elton Sawyer's got to go out there and explain who's making the call. Do we know? It's got to be one guy. You can't have a committee up there in the tower making these decisions. Or is it Elton Sawyer? Do we know? Anyone?
Sure. Elton Sawyer is the only one that's quoted in this article that I'm reading about it, and so.
Okay.
You know, when he talks about the damaged vehicle policy, he says when you look at the situation like we had today, last Sunday, we want to err on the side of the competitor. Our goal with the damaged vehicle policy from day one was to never put good cars out of a race. We wanted to make sure cars that were really damaged didn't go back out there. If we need to make a decision that's in the best interest of our fans and competitors, that's what we're going to do. We'll look at it in the off season and see if we need to make a change. I think you do.
Elton, it was a hell of a lot easier driving a race car than answering for NASCAR, wasn't it? Unbelievable. So, and that isn't the only problem that NASCAR had on their hands, like they needed more. But when the two Roush freaking Keselowski cars went through tech at the end of the race, neither one had roof rails. The brand new mandated roof rails that were absolutely required on every car, neither car had them on there. They fell off while they were racing, and NASCAR's got to make an instantaneous decision. Well, what do we do with these cars? Well, if it fell off while they were racing, it must be okay. And so therefore, no penalty, no disqualification, and both of the Roush cars are no problem. Oh, no roof rails? Okay. No, we'll worry about that some. We got other fish to fry today.
Remember that time in the truck with Musgrave when they did that with the skirts on the
Darlington, wasn't it?
The Darlington? I think they made his truck was so fast. I said he had to put these skirts on, and he was all mad about it. So he took his first qualifying lap and scraped the wall and knocked them all off. And I was like,
and NASCAR was pissed. You can't do it. We're going to DQ you if you ever do something like that again. Yeah, whatever. Ted was so unaffected, I swear. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I just hit the wall. I mean, don't get excited. Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
So going forward, what are the odds that they actually change something with the race car versus trying to manipulate their damaged vehicle policy rules again?
Zero.
I just don't see them doing it when you know that would be a fairly easy fix. Because if you can get these cars to where if you're not wadded up so bad that all you have are flat tires, you can fire it up and drive it back. I mean, we see Indy cars with multiple flat tires being able to maneuver themselves back to pit road, you know, and that those cars are lower to the ground. Well, we thought, obviously not, but and higher tech and harder to maneuver. But I just nowhere in anything that you read here does it say that they're looking at trying to help the car so that the drivers can get it back into their control again. They want to keep tweaking the rules so that they can keep running this car around, which just, I don't know, it just blows my mind. That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Yeah. And it's not like that's all NASCAR has to worry about is their ineptitude at calling races. And we'll get into that when we come back. Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer, no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer, just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
After going 1-1 on the opening weekend, the Milwaukee Admirals are still on the road. Sorum turned it over. The Admirals with a break the other way. Here's Kiefer Bellows. Shoots and scores! His first of the year. Friday they're at Rockford. Pre-game coverage at 6:30. Face-off at 7 on the Big 920 and your iHeartRadio app.
So on the track, we could go through and review how bad NASCAR has been lately. There was yesterday with the waiting to call a caution that ends up costing Parker Kligerman his only win in any NASCAR race. He's a good announcer, that's for sure. Or we could talk about NASCAR's reinterpretation of their own damaged vehicle policy rules, or they're missing the roof rails that fell off of the RFK cars without any penalty or DQ of any kind. But instead, we're going to go into the beautiful world of law. And just to show you how smart I am about legal issues, my entire expertise is derived from watching reruns of Suits. I'm in season 7 right now, so I know everything there is to know about legal issues. So now we have NASCAR who has to figure out what to do with this lawsuit. The 2311 and Front Row lawsuit that says we're not going to sign this agreement. Don't hold our fingers to the flame. These other guys might be chicken, but we're not chicken. We're going to hold out and take you to court and sue you for an illegal monopoly of the sport. And NASCAR, who is usually, totally unaffected, just says, well, and you're going to lose your charter at the end of the year for not signing. Well, you can't do that, can you? Well, it's our deal. We can pretty much do what we want. Yeah, but it's bigger than that. It's a monopoly. You can't do that to us. So what they're doing is 2311 and Front Row have requested an injunction against taking the charters away while they are in the process of suing NASCAR. Boy, I should have paid closer attention to Suits because I don't understand how this works. So we're going to find out, I think, this coming Wednesday. Didn't something happen maybe yesterday or the day before? They're filing motions and they're figuring out about injunctions and all this legalese BS while we're trying to watch a race, an elimination race today, while we're watching NASCAR's competition division trip over their own, shoelaces, trying to not make mistakes that are costing teams shots at a championship. Good God, how would you like to be in the upper echelons of NASCAR right now?
Dan, you mentioned this last week, didn't you? You said you expect an injunction to be filed, correct?
That's the way cases go, and they're going to file it and ask the court to let them keep their charters while the suit goes on. They don't have to do that. I'm not sure the court's going to give it to them. There's a pretty compelling argument against that says, hey, this is the deal. You didn't want to sign it. We'll see what the court says. I'm sure NASCAR is going to oppose it.
Bob Jenkins, the guy from Front Row, says, well, we'll race without a charter for a little while, but we're losing money with a charter, so we're not going to be able to make it real long while this thing gets straightened out if we have to race without a charter. Yeah, it's not a good idea to do that. It seems like we're playing chicken here, and all the guys who agreed to this new contract are suddenly very amused with what's happening, crossing their arms, taking a step back, and watching and waiting to see what happens. They all pretty much say, well, you guys have some pretty good cojones here that you're able to take NASCAR and try to sue them while you're, it could cost you your charter while you're doing this, but oh, what a mess.
And I mean, also, if you look at it, the most lucrative race on the season is your season opener. So, I mean, in these articles, it says, in the filings, it stated that the Daytona 500 purse money amounts to 15% of the total revenue for the entire season. So if you go to Daytona without a charter, I mean, you're really screwed. So, this is a tough one for them if they don't.
In the response to this injunction, NASCAR said, you guys aren't harmed because, it's not irreparable harm because you guys said you're going to race without a charter next year. Already intended race opens where that's not like you can't race if this doesn't happen. And if you win, they can award you a bunch of money to make up for it.
What a lesson in showing your cards before
Any
you're
chance
ready
Court
to.
TV will be in there for this one? Because this would be a good one to watch.
Yeah, a division of Speed Channel. That isn't the only thing that happened legally this week. The group, the lawyer for 2311 in Front Row, filed a motion. Now, here we go into legalese again, for expedited discovery. Now, what the hell is that, you're saying? And, due to my outstanding legal prowess, that is where they want them to open the books up before any trial happens. And it's not the NASCAR books, it's individuals within NASCAR. Like the France family personal books is what it looks like. They name all these individuals. So not only, boy, how would you like to be one of those silk-suited NASCAR attorneys? They're earning their money right now, just to take care of all of that while poor Elton Sawyer is pushed out on the other side to explain all the poor decisions that they're making on the track. NASCAR used to be quite a deal, didn't they? And now they can't get out of their own way. It's absolutely amazing. And if you'd like to comment on this, and I'll only say this once and we won't harp on it, we will take your call and give us your idea on anything we've talked about, whether it's the reinterpretation of the damaged vehicle policy or it's, NASCAR's legal issues or about today's elimination race. You can call us at 414-421-7901, and we will be happy to take your opinion, because actually this is quite a mess right now for NASCAR, and it certainly does keep things interesting for us homeboys who like to talk about what's happening in the world of NASCAR. Sean Van Gisbergen is on the pole. He went around this track. Now, I got to get this number right. 1 minute and 22 seconds it took to get around that place. That seems like a long time to me. 122.704, 99.246 miles per hour. He is the man on any kind of road course, and you can't get away from it. It's just amazing. If he's not the fastest qualifier, he'll be there all day, and you'll have to deal with him. The points, as we mentioned, this is an elimination race, and there's 4 cars, including Joey Logano, who is 13 points under the break right now. He could not make it to the next round unless he has a really good run today. Well, he did qualify 4th today and has a good car and needs to have something good happen, more than likely to finish 13 positions ahead of Chase Elliott at the very least, who is right on now on the other side of the bubble. 13 to the good, Logano's 13 to the bad. By the way, the winner of the regular season, Tyler Reddick, is only 14 points above the cut line right now. So,
and it'll be interesting today because it's a road course. You have the strategy pitting before the break to see if you're going to get the points. So the guys that are really good in points will pit before the end of the stage break because they won't necessarily need the points. And these guys below it here, watch them, try to get the points and then pit afterwards. So you're going to see a lot of back and forth with these points all day long because, you can get 10 to win a stage. So a guy like Logano, guarantee you he's going to stay out there to try to be in front of all these guys because if he can get 10 points and these other guys don't get any, all of a sudden he's only 10 behind.
And road course strategy is already very, very different than oval track strategy. So throw in the points, and this is an elimination race on top of all the rest of that strategy. Whew, it might be interesting to watch. We'll be right back.
This Saturday at Dell's Raceway Park, the Alive for 5 Super Late Models are back in action with the Halloween 150. See the best Super Late Model drivers in the Midwest competing in a 150-lap shootout, plus the 602 Outlaw Late Models and the Midwest Dash Series. Fan gates open at 11, qualifying at 12:30, green flag racing at 2. Get your advance tickets online now and save at DellsRacewayPark.com. Dell's Raceway Park, located 2 miles west of I-90-94 and exit 85 just off Highway 12. Dell's Raceway Park, Wisconsin's best racing entertainment.
As a growing manufacturing company, we needed security solutions. We chose Bonafide because of the services they offer, pricing, and trusted reputation. But it's their outstanding service and support that convinced us we made the right choice with Bonafide.
When businesses need security, they contact Bonafide Security Solutions. From locks and alarms to safes and surveillance, we do it all. We are Bonafide. We protect what you value. For your free security survey, call us today or visit bonafidesafe.com.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
Sunday, the Packers battle the Cardinals at Lambeau. Doug Russell and the Potawatomi Sportsbook Bet Above the Rest pregame show is live at 8 a.m. Kickoff at noon on Milwaukee's home for the Packers. Yes! 97.3 The Game.
And, of course, the Packers are coming on at noon today. I don't even know what channel they're on, but, of course, you can hear it on 97.3 The Game. It's going to be on Channel 4, Milwaukee, Channel 15, Madison, so it's on the big network. And the green flag today is at 1:38, so about halftime or thereabouts for the Packer game. Waving the green flag today will be Greg Biffle. They're honoring him for all the work he's done with his helicopter, helping out all those flood victims in the Carolinas and in Tennessee. It's just amazing what he's all done, and it's a pretty neat little tip of the cap. Don't they have some fancy award that they give out at the NASCAR banquet every year?
Like a humanitarian award, yeah.
If Biffle hasn't earned it, my God. And they usually give it to one of their own, but Biffle has been pretty amazing this week. The Roval track is 109 lapper, and they're going to have segments at lap 25 and lap 50. And it's a pretty big deal today because we're going to figure out the 4 cars that are going to be eliminated, and we're going to move on. And then suddenly, with 4 races to go, we're going to find out who's going to be in the big shoe at Phoenix.
And much more straightforward racing going forward than two. You can kind of say the gimmicks are over. You don't have the restrictor plate stuff. You don't have, the Roval. You have 2 mile-and-a-halves and a half mile to figure it out.
Of course, the shenanigans of NASCAR could still factor in, Brian.
Well, that's true. I mean, we saw it a couple years ago at Martinsville, and then they say they're not going to allow it anymore. But, you should see the cream rise to the top in these last 3 races at those tracks.
Yeah, this is the toughest round to get out of the playoffs. I think the second round, if you can survive this, then you have a pretty good shot going forward.
as I mentioned earlier with Hamlin, he was out. He was going to be out of the top 8, and he was going to be hurting pretty bad, trying to catch up to the rest of the field late in that race. And careful what you wish for. After that crazy 28-car pileup, which, by the way, you cannot blame anyone. I'm sorry. It's just the way it works in this form of racing. I think it started with Harrison Burton, but you know what? It wasn't his fault. It's just they expect it. You know, it's designed to do this, unfortunately.
And I'll look forward to next year. That race is going to be one of the final races to determine who goes to the playoffs. However, like last week, you have a scenario where a non-playoff driver wins the race. Then I guess it doesn't really affect who's going to go to the Final Four. But you know, here you got this type of, you know, quote unquote gimmicky racing that we're going to have that now in next year.
Imagine
3 races before you go to Phoenix.
28 cars sitting in the grass, and you're gonna have 8 of them. That well, who do you pick first? Because
right,
who goes to the championship?
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly.
Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall when they discuss this whole week and what would we have done differently? Okay, yeah, I know we made a mistake, but Elton's pretty good. Elton, get out there and put a face on for him and try to explain this, would you? Why do I have to do it? This is why this is why you're not driving a race car anymore, Elton. You get out there. And how's Mrs. Moise right away? Yeah, it's a bad job, but NASCAR is, they're going to have to figure out next year. They got some time, you know, what are we going to do to not shoot ourselves in the foot? That's pretty much what the meeting's going to have to be about. So, all right, there's some things that have happened outside of the law, and NASCAR screwing up that, you might find interesting. I don't know if anybody caught it. If you watch Dirty Mo Media, it's so outstanding. It's Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s program, and he had something happening. I don't know what. He couldn't do his show. So who did he bring in to do his show but Kenny Wallace? And that's a real good guy to come in and do your show for you. And Kenny came in and did such a nice job, apparently, that Earnhardt offered him a permanent gig. Now, you know, Kenny has a program that's called Coffee with Kenny, and it's a YouTube thing, a little bit like what we have. But, of course, he's got many, many, many thousands of viewers, and Junior, to jump in on that, has offered him a program on his Dirty Mo Media network. So who does Kenny call to be his partner for this program but Kenny Schrader, the Missouri Kids, the Kenny and
phenomenal.
Oh my God!
It's going to be a phenomenal podcast. I think it's going to be more popular than Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s podcast. Ooh. Because you're going to have dirt and asphalt people that are going to be coming into that fray to want to watch it, and I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, you had Kenny Schrader on your program, didn't you, Peach?
Yeah, we had Kenny Schrader on the Racing Nuggets podcast. That episode just on YouTube has over 40,000 views.
Are there any 2 more guys in a sport that relate best to just the average fans and those 2 guys? And that's what they got going for them.
Exactly. They are the ham and eggers.
Yep. They've had the success.
On our level.
And they still participate all the time. You know, I mean, Schrader's racing all the time. Wallace still racing all the time. I mean, so these guys know they're still taking part in it.
Yeah, they can speak. They don't talk about what they used to do. They talk about what they do. Did I see, Brian, I know we're jumping the gun, but didn't I see Kenny Wallace won a race this week?
Oh, yes.
Imagine. This guy's is 60 years old, and he's among the most popular drivers in the country, not because he races in front of 100,000 people at a time, because he races in front of 1,000 people at a time, and it absolutely is the most loved, maybe not popular, loved driver that there is. And that should be a pretty good program. Well, we'll keep you up on that. The Dirty Mo Network will have the Kenny and Kenny. I don't know what they're going to call it. They're trying to figure out what they're going to call it.
Kenny Squared.
Kenny Squared. I like that too. Herman Kenny? No, that won't work. But we'll have to tune in. Legacy Motorsports. What do they call it? The Motorsport Club? Legacy Motorsport Club. There's more coming from them, too. There's more and more happening outside of NASCAR's legal problems. And we'll get to that. Before we're done, we'll come back with some results. Hang in there.
Miller Sales and Service of Random Lake is where to go for a trailer, no matter what you're hauling. Tom and Jerry Miller have been selling trailers from B&B, Trophy, and Bravo for over 50 years. Quality and integrity is what put them on the map on the corner of 57 and K since 1939. Home of the number 89 dirt and asphalt cars of Brad Miller. That's Miller Sales and Service. It's where to go for a trailer, just 20 minutes north of Milwaukee. Call them 920-994-4358.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
If you're a fan of our Wisconsin sports teams, here's the perfect podcast for you. The Larrabee and LePage podcast with two Hall of Fame broadcasters. Wayne Larrabee, the voice of the Green Bay Packers, and Matt LePage, the voice of Wisconsin Badgers football and men's basketball. Together bringing you insights and guests talking Packers, Badgers, Brewers, Bucks, and more. Listen to the Larrabee and LePage podcast. Available anytime on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts. Presented by UW Credit Union. Here for every you.
And now the LTN Hour presents Dirt on the Dirt with Brian Schmidt.
We continue to move through the month of October here. We're almost halfway through the month of October. That's amazing. And the dirt racing specials still go on across the country. We'll start Tuesday night in Odessa, Missouri, the I-70 Speedway. The High Limit Sprint cars were there, and Brad Sweet picked up the win. The High Limit Series moved to Wheatland, Missouri Wednesday night in the Lucas Oil Speedway for another feature event. Brad Sweet won that one as well. Thursday night, Batesville, Arkansas, the 8th annual Race for the Hope for the IMCA Modifieds. Tom Berry Jr. won the preliminary feature there on Thursday night. Also Thursday night, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Port City Raceway, the Power Eye Midgets. Jason Persley was your winner. Back at Odessa, Missouri, the I-70 Speedway for the Lucas Oil MLRA was there, and Ryan Gustin grabbed the win there. Friday night, I said last week that I thought racing was done in Wisconsin with Beaver Dam Special. I was wrong. 141 Speedway had a special Friday night called Car Wars at the Creek. They had a ton of cars show up there in the IMCA Modifieds. Cole Sarneski was your winner. IMCA Stock Cars went to Mike Mullen, and the Grand Nationals went to Jeff Richards. Back in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Port City Raceway for the Power Eye Midgets, Cannon McIntosh was your winner Friday night. Night number 2 in Batesville, Arkansas for the Race for the Hope for the IMCA Modifieds. Tom Berry made it 2 for 2, winning the second night. Oswego, New York, Super Dirt Week 52 for the big blocks and the 358 Modifieds, their big, huge special that years ago was always held at Syracuse. Now they cover the Oswego Speedway with dirt and run it for a week. The Salute to the Troops 150 for the 358 Modifieds was the main event Friday night. Matt Williamson was your winner there. Fort Worth, Texas, the dirt track at Texas Motor Speedway for the High Limit Sprint cars. Brad Sweet made it 3 in a row on the week, winning that one. Granite City, Illinois, Friday night for the Tri-City Speedway for the Lucas Oil MLRA late models. Chris Simpson was your winner. UMP Modifieds were the undercard, and as we talked before, Kenny Wallace grabbed the feature win at Tri-Cities Friday night. Brownstown, Indiana, Friday night for the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, the C.J. Rayburn Memorial. Ricky Thornton Jr. was your winner there. Last night at Luxembourg, they had a special, the Spooky Showdown for the IMCA Modifieds. Benji Lacrosse was your winner. Stock cars went to Cole Sarneski and the Grand Nationals, Jeff Richards. Fergus Falls, Minnesota, the I-94 Speedway for the Gopher State Showdown. The Wissota Late Models was Sammy Mars, and the Wissota Modifieds went to Brady Gertis. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Port City Raceway, the Power Eye Midgets. Jacob Denny was your winner. Lawrenceburg, Indiana, the USAC Amsoil National Sprint Cars. Logan Seavey grabbed the win. The main event in Batesville, Arkansas for the Race for the Hope, $7,000 the win for the IMCA Modifieds. That went to Tom Berry Jr. Out in Abbottstown, Pennsylvania, the Lincoln Speedway for the World of Outlaw Sprint Cars. Donnie Schatz was your winner. Oswego, New York, Super Dirt Week 52. Their big main event always used to be run on a Sunday. They moved it to a Saturday night this year. The Billy Whitaker Cars 200 for the big block Modifieds. Stuart Friesen, for the 6th time, picked up the $52,000 grand prize in that event. So, his Truck Series career has been kind of off and on. He still gets it done in the big block modifieds. Fort Worth, Texas, the final night for the High Limit Sprint Car Series, $50,000 to win. Brett Marks beat Brad Sweet for the big money prize there. And finally in Brownstown, Indiana, the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series, Jackson 100, $50,000 to win. That feature event went to Mike Marlar. That's a name we have not said much over the last several months. It's usually the same handful of guys. But that was their penultimate event for the Lucas Oil Series. Next week, they go to Eldora for the Big Dirt Track World Championship. And that's the championship for the Lucas Oil Series next week. So that is everything for this week.
All right. On to the asphalt side of things. Last Sunday was the 55th annual Oktoberfest race weekend finale. Vintage race went to Jason Stark, the 602. Crate-toberfest, James Swan picking up the win in his truck. ASA Midwest Tour, Ty Majeski winning again at Oktoberfest. Gabe Summers securing the championship for the ASA Midwest Tour. On Friday, the Winchester 400 weekend kicked off. The Pro Late Models ran a 100-lapper. 100. Kyle Crump was the winner of that, and the champion of that division was Blake Rowe. Jefferson Speedway, 44th annual Wisconsin State Championships. Late Models in action, Sean Scheel was the winner on Friday night. And then on Saturday, Jefferson running again. Dan, you were there for all the excitement. It went a little late because of the rain.
Yeah, some unexpected rain came through, like 2 rain delays and some lightning and thunder, but give the credit to that track crew there. They got that track dried and they're dedicated. We were going racing and we kicked off racing right around 9 o'clock at night by the time the first green flag hit. But hey, we stuck around.
Too, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've been through worse. I wasn't terrible, but
yeah, we've had worse Oktoberfests like that with weather.
But hey,
not bad.
Kudos to the fans that stuck around and the track for getting that thing going, and drivers for sticking around and put on a good show.
And Brandon
Reichenberger track too, right?
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Brandon Reichenberger won that Midwest Truck Series, and I know his son has been going through a lot of health challenges, and the whole racing community is really rallying behind them. I think that's pretty cool. So congrats to him.
Cincinnati, do you know that?
Yeah, which is part of the reason why a lot of funds are needed, because when a kid is far away from home like that, it's hard on everybody.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, congrats to Brandon picking up that win in the Midwest Truck Series. Colton Goralski won the first of the late model features last night. Evan Hassler won the second. They did a bonus feature as well, too, and Jerry Eckhart picked up the win in that one. How about that?
His birthday is one of these days here, or I don't know exactly, but I know it's in October. And at that age, you love seeing more birthdays. I think he's 81.
Yeah, for sure. And then also last night, Tri-County Speedway had the late model stock cars in action. Carson Quampel, it was seriously a slobber knocker. He ended up starting 7th, finished 6th, but it was a real big mess because there was a lot of cars running out of gas due to so many cautions and red flags. Connor Jones ended up winning that late model stock car feature, and Tristan McKee won the pro late models. And then today is the Winchester 400. Casey Roderick on the pole for that one. Gio Ruggiero. I'm going to say it like I'm drunk. He's P2 in qualifying. Blake Rowe, who won the championship for the Pro Lates, he's going to roll off 3rd. Stephen Nassy 4th. Ty Majeski 5th. Michael Hind, who he and Ty Majeski have kind of a little partnership going. Hind ran his car here. Ty's running Michael Hind's car there. Toby is still crew chiefing on it. Michael Hind qualified 12th, and Austin Nason is also there. He's been running all of the ASA Stars Tours races. He qualified P19, and they will race this afternoon.
When we do these things and we talk about that there's some things coming up, it'd be nice to know if you're able to watch it on streaming.
You are. If you have Track TV, you can watch it there, or if you subscribe to the Midwest Tour or ASA Stars Tour, which is all kind of under one umbrella, you can watch it there as well, too.
Okay, so that'll be interesting to watch. Okay. So that's later on today. Like there isn't enough to watch between baseball playoffs and the Packers and the race. There's a lot of good stuff going on right now. And it might be cold and damp and dripping out there, but at least there's reasons to stay in the house and watch TV or listen on the Big 920. We just don't mind throwing that out there. I mentioned Legacy Motor Club. They're bringing guys in and changing guys around. Last week, we heard that they were bringing in a new technical director. The guy's name is Brian Campy. Well, this week they moved him. They gave him a raise after he just walked in the door. They made him the new crew chief for the 42 car. They took the crew chief for the 42 car and moved him. That's Ben Bayshore. Moved him over to take over for the 43 car because Eric Jones certainly has been an underperformer this year. And Dave Ellens, who has been the crew chief, was, released. Fired is what he was. Thanks for your help, but you didn't help, and so we're showing you the door. And that's so the musical chairs continues over at Legacy for Jimmy Johnson, Richard Petty, Matt Kenseth, the driver coach, trying to get John Hunter Nemechek to turn into a race car driver. Nemechek has been doing some things lately that I think has he been this bad before he had Matt for his driver coach? I don't remember, but I don't know. I wouldn't be bragging too much about the way things are going at that 42 car. No wonder they keep changing people around. We'll be right back.
This Saturday at Dell's Raceway Park, the Alive for 5 Super Late models are back in action with the Halloween 150. See the best Super Late model drivers in the Midwest competing in a 150-lap shootout, plus the 602 Outlaw Late models and the Midwest Dash Series. Van gates open at 11, qualifying at 12:30, green flag racing at 2. Get your advance tickets online now and save at DellsRacewayPark.com. Dell's Raceway Park, located 2 miles west of I-90-94 and exit 85 just off Highway 12. Dell's Raceway Park, Wisconsin's best racing entertainment.
Fall has arrived, but there's still time to get your landscaping complete before the snow flies. And PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend has everything you need with fresh mulch arriving daily. From premium hardwood mulch to hemlock and pine bark to EnviroMulch in red, gold, chocolate brown, and black colors. PMF also has a large variety of decorative stone and granite, as well as field stone, topsoil, and compost. For all your landscaping needs, visit PMF Landscape Supply, 5470 River Road in West Bend. Call 262-338-8800 or visit pmflandscape.com. Friends of racing for many years. PMF Landscape Supply in West Bend.
Your home for the Packers.
A sensational over the shoulder kick. Down he goes at the 1-yard line of Los Angeles. What a throw. What a play. What a catch. Tucker Kraft. 66 yards. Yes, Ray Nitschke into the end zone.
Sunday, the Cardinals come to Lambeau. Kickoff at noon on the flagship of the Packers Radio Network, 97.3 The Game.
We wouldn't be really counted on in Las Vegas for our outstanding picks. Let's put it that way. Not one of us picked Ricky Stenhouse at Talladega last week, but I can guarantee you that if you had asked any of us, we would have guaranteed you that it's such a crapshoot that you never really know who could win. There's guys that don't win very many races that will suddenly show up and win at places like Talladega, which Stenhouse is really good on those kind of tracks. So it's not a real big surprise that he won out there. But today we're road course racing. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm an SVG out-and-out fan, and he's probably the favorite today. But I'm not going to pick him because it's too easy, and I like hard picks, so I'm going to take Kyle Larson. That's how hard of a pick this is going to be for me today. So I took Larson. All right, let's see. Let's go a little different this week. Who haven't we had go second recently? Brian? How about you? Unless you're asleep at the switch.
I'm picking Tyler Reddick. He's on the outside of the front row. He's really good on road courses, and he really probably, he's kind of not really safe, but he's safe enough that he needs to win. So I'm taking Reddick.
14 points to the good. Okay, let's go. Dan, you go last this time. PJ, you're next.
I'm taking Blaney, Ryan Blaney.
Wow.
He needs to look better, not just for a championship. He just needs to look better if he wants to be in the middle of the discussion, I think.
2 pieces of low-hanging fruit are still hanging.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. All right, Dano?
I'm not going to take him either, Brian. I'm going to go a harder pick, too. When a guy's back against the wall, he usually seems to come through and frustrates the hell out of you, but seems to come through and always advance. I'm going to go with Joey Logano.
I knew you were going to pick him. And then I was going to remind you, Dan, you don't have him in your Final Four.
I don't. We're not there yet.
Logano starting fourth, and he is 13 points below the cut line right now. He really needs to win today, and or at least have just an outstanding race, and have a couple of guys have bad races if he's going to make it to the next round. So interesting stuff. All right, there was a couple other things that happened this week. Dan, interesting. We learned about this tournament. It's an in-season tournament, a little bit like the NBA did last year. During the next season, they're going to have a tournament between a couple different tracks in the middle of the season. But we find out some interesting details on it.
Well, in that lawsuit, some of the court filings, they referenced direct payments to drivers, and people are kind of wondering what's that, direct payments to drivers. Well, apparently in this tournament next year, this in-season deal where kind of like the NBA did this year, we're going to have drivers up against each other, going to have this mini tournament in the middle of the year. Apparently what they win out of that is going to get paid directly to the drivers, which is something they've never done before. You know, now I'm sure each driver's got some kind of agreement with their team that it's going to probably get pushed there anyways. But the payments from NASCAR are apparently coming right to the drivers for that tournament.
Which means they get to pay tax directly on it.
Yeah. Do they get to buy the parts for their cars then too, or I mean, are they buying the tires for those cars?
That's what is so confusing about that thing, Brian, and that's a perfect point to make. How you're going to pay the driver, and then what? Then the car owner is going to charge rent for driving the car that he was able to win all that money with?
Well, that's what this sport is unlike all the other ones, and we always want to compare it to the other sports. But unlike the NBA, the players buy their own shoes, or they have a shoe agreement. Yes, the team gives them a uniform, but the expenses, that's the extent of it. Motorsports is different, and that's where it frustrates us so much when NASCAR tries to follow the other sports. We're not like the other sports. We don't need to be like the other sports.
Yeah, well, the other sports don't make such asinine decisions on the fly like NASCAR does. No, I will, in their defense, I would say other sports don't need to have decisions made when crazy things come up like this. It's just that,
we got instant replay in football.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of bad officiating. So I guess, there's officiating. We have officiating in the other sports, which can be pretty egregious sometimes as well, but you move on to the next play.
We were able to use that instant replay for Parker Kligerman coming up to the yellow flag.
Yes, we did.
Although, on television, and it sounds like, Brian, you were listening to radio, I was watching on TV, they showed the white flag before they announced the yellow flag.
But they go by the light.
Kidding me. Yeah.
They go by the light.
They went back and showed it, so it was legitimate. But you saw a car that wasn't going to move. How come it's so difficult just to say there's a car that isn't going to make it off the track, push the yellow flag? Oh, no, wait. We have to
Do you know what I think, Todd? I think they might have different people in that seat, like training other people to do it, and maybe that's why it's so inconsistent.
Trainees. That's such a perfect place for it, Unbelievable. Also, Eddie DeHaan, he has been the spotter for the number 4 car forever, and he's going with his buddy Childers, who's now moved over to be the crew chief for the 7 car next year. He's going to be Justin Haley's spotter next year. So Eddie DeHaan goes with Childers. Not a surprise there. Thanks so much for tuning in. We do appreciate it. And as I like our many, many listeners through all these years to remember, real race cars have doors, even if they do climb in through the windows. Let's Talk NASCAR is produced and directed by Dangerous Dan Margetta. Our engineer is Matt Losey, and for all of us involved with the program, we consider it an honor that you tune in every week here on the Big 920, and we'll see you next week.
This program has come to you live from multiple locations via Skype. Any and all comments expressed on this show do not necessarily express the opinions of this station, its employees, or advertisers. Your comments are always welcome at mail@ltnradionetwork.com. Find us at facebook.com/LTN Radio Network. And thank you for your support since 1985. Tune in again next Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time for the LTN Hour on the LTN Radio Network.